Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Looks like we're still waiting on a few people, but if you have any agenda items, please make sure that you add them to the meeting notes. And if you're on the call, please sign in to the attendees list so we can keep record of that. And we'll probably start up in just a little bit. So it looks like Evan's on the call. I'm gonna call it quorum. I have no idea where Josh is, but I know that Anthony said that he was not gonna be able to make at least the first half. So we could probably get started. I don't imagine this taking too long. I don't have too many items, and some of them are kind of conditional on Josh being here, so they'll probably go really fast. But the main thing is the next milestone. That I guess I could start sharing my screen. Might help a little bit. Yeah, that should work. Cool. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so the main thing is this specification. I'm sorry, the milestone for the V06 specification. Looks like we're pretty much there. We have PRs for all of the remaining outstanding issues included in the milestone. So it should be good. They all have a single review, if I remember correctly, so they could use another review or two. If you're on the call, even if you are not an approver of the project, please take a look. We'd love to have as many eyes on there as possible. And different opinions is always helpful. But yeah, probably prioritize these PRs in particular, I think are really helpful to get the project progressing. Most of them are pretty simple. And then after that, the next one would probably be the gRPC trace instrumentation span name. This is to address a issue where our span names are actually coming in with a leading slash. This is based on the upstream gRPC library that we're using. So just fixes that. Additionally, also with recent V06 specification, the service tag or the service name tag that gets shipped up as an attribute should also include the package name, which is kind of a change from the ambiguously defined service name beforehand. So that also addresses that. So yeah, should be pretty straightforward as a review. I think that's the majority of the PRs I was looking at getting reviewed. I'm going to just pause there just in case there were any questions. Cool.
I guess I do have a question. So this implements the next milestone when release are completed. Do you have a plan for a next release of the Go thing, or is that's still a ways off?
So the next release, meaning that like once the milestone is complete, should
Yeah. Should we?
okay,
Should
yeah,
we
yeah.
move? Okay. I see.
Yeah, I kind of glossed over that, didn't I? In the back of my head, I always kind of just assumed that the moment the milestone is done, we can release it. In fact, actually, we probably have enough for our release right now, but I was hoping to kind of just prolong that
Yep.
till I get that milestone in. So I'm guessing today or maybe tomorrow we can get the release out.
Okay.
There's a fair amount included. Also, thanks everyone for really jumping on board the changelog. It's been looking great. But yeah, there's been a lot going on in the changelog for things that are added, changed, or removed. Mostly was the B3 stuff that was going through, and a lot of restructuring on that propagator. But there's also addition of all of the stuff included in the milestone as well that I think could go out and would be a useful release. So yeah, I imagine to answer the question today or tomorrow would be the release if we can get the milestone done. Is kind of what I was thinking. But yeah, I'd envisioned that we'd be doing a quicker turnaround around on those releases, which I think we are. Actually, I think that's going to be a 2-week release cycle, or maybe a 2-week release cycle, which is much better. But it's definitely still a big release. So we'll see if we can keep that momentum going. The next thing after that would be the next milestone. And I see Morgan's got a lot of stuff, and this is probably related. What do we need, I think, is the next major target of the project. And then maybe after that, we can kind of talk about the GA planning. Looks like, I think the milestone, I don't really have anything in particular. I know that there's a lot of bigger issues, and maybe we can probably plan our next milestone around maybe what we talked about with Morgan here in the GA planning next. So maybe we move that to afterwards. Yeah, I don't know if Morgan's still on.
I'm here. Yeah.
Hey, is there something you wanted to? I'm going to hand it over to you at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I had 2 topics. The first is GA planning. So Tyler, I think you're already looped into this, but I don't know about the others. Just like beta, we're starting a GA planning process for OpenTelemetry. GA will take place later this year, and we're going to have sort of release candidates for each SDK and the collector that will lead up to GA. You know, it might be that the first release candidate becomes the GA release. It might be that we have multiple release candidates for certain components before we get there. We're targeting the first wave of GAs to include the collector, as well as the Go, Java, JavaScript, and Python SDKs, as well as possibly .NET, and Erlang, and possibly the Java auto and Python auto instrumentation. I just have to check in with those SIGs and see where they are. We've started the planning process already for the spec SIG, and so I have some links here that you can look at. The first is for just the general GA project planning doc. That's very similar to what we had for beta. Give it a look. But the second, and probably the more important, is the spec Kanban board. So if you want to present that. The Kanban boards, what we've done in the spec SIG is we've gone and labeled every single issue with a label called release:_require-for-GA. And we've done that for every issue. We've done it also for every PR that is required for GA. So much of these describe work that's already in flight or about to be merged into the spec. But we've also filed issues for work that hasn't even started. Similarly, we want on each SIG people to file issues for remaining work that they happen to already know is required for GA, as well as any work that will be required based off of the spec work that is now required and called out in this Kanban board and associated with this label. So with that, we can then build similar boards for each SIG. This spec board is a little unique. It's tied to the OpenTelemetry organization. GitHub Projects, which is the GitHub brand for these Kanban boards, can be tied to either orgs or repos. Specs were unique just because the specs repo, or specs effectively covers 2 repos, both the specification repository as well as OTEPs. The actual SIGs that exist inside of OpenTelemetry are generally repo specific, so it's probably easier just to create these boards, tie them to your repos instead of having multiple tied to the org. Anyways, so the request coming out is to first like go file issues that you for things that you think are still required to be done for the Go SDK before it hits GA, and then assign the release required for GA label to those. Once that's done, then build one of these Kanban boards. It's really simple, just takes a few clicks, and you just got to drag in the issues that are have the required for GA tag. Once the issues are in the board will automatically propagate things left and right depending on their status. Like if for an issue, if it's open versus closed, and for PR, depending on where it is in the review pipeline, it'll move them through. GitHub has that kind of automation. It doesn't have automation to bring in items based on their label when they're newly filed, unfortunately. Bog and I are going to see if we can whip up a bot or something to go get that done. But at the moment, you'll need to at least just manually drag in the initial set of issues and PRs. But it'll take it from there once you do it. Any questions?
Cool. No, that looks great. Thanks for getting after it. I think
Cool.
I'll take it as an action item to try and make sure we have some issues filed. I think it's
Nice.
sounds like a good idea. Maybe after doing that, we can, in the next release milestone, we can group it on at least.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a second unrelated topic. Yana at Google, JBD, she had some just random sort of minor sort of feedback items for the Go SDK. She was wondering, would she be able to just present those next meeting? Are you interested in hearing them? She's got a doc that she wrote up as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love
Awesome.
looking at feedback. If we can get the doc beforehand, that'd be cool
Yes.
too. But
Yep.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
All right.
all about it.
I will let her know, and I will ask her to share the doc.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. Cool. Cool. Yeah, that is definitely a quick meeting. I'm just gonna see if anybody else had anything else they wanted to add to this. Awesome. Definitely plenty of work to do, so I'm happy ending it early. Thanks everyone for joining, and I look forward to the meeting next week. Oh, Morgan, just for a heads up, that meeting next week is going to be in the afternoon. That works for Jana?
Yeah, she's in the West Coast, so that'll be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right.
Cool. Alrighty.
All right, everyone.
See you later.
See y'all later.